Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to the English Globe. We are so glad that you are here with us today. This is a place where learning English meets learning about the world. Every episode, Julia and I bring you conversations that help you grow your vocabulary, improve your listening skills, and understand important topics from around the globe. Today we have prepared something very meaningful for all of you.
Julia.
Yes, Adam. Today's topic is China and Russia, a growing strategic partnership. These two countries are often in the news, and people everywhere are talking about their relationship. But what does it really mean when we say that they are partners on the global stage? What are the reasons behind this partnership, and why is it important for us to understand? That is what we will explore in today's session.
Adam.
The importance of this topic cannot be ignored. China and Russia are both large and powerful nations, with great influence on politics, trade, and security. When they choose to work closely together, their combined actions can shape the direction of world events. This is why we believe it is essential to learn more about their growing partnership, and we want to make it clear and simple for English learners.
Julia.
By talking about this subject, we are not only helping you practice English, but we are also giving you tools to understand the modern world. Global connections affect everyone, no matter where you live. Knowing how China and Russia cooperate can help you follow international news, join discussions with friends, and think critically about changes that may affect your own country too.
Adam, dear listeners, before we go further, we kindly ask for your support. If you are enjoying the English Globe, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us grow and create more content for you. And don't forget, we truly want to hear from you. What do you think about today's topic? Share your thoughts and opinions in the comments section.
Julia.
Yes, we always enjoy reading your ideas. Every opinion matters, and your comments help us understand what is important to our listeners. So please join the conversation, practice your English by writing, and let us know what you think about the partnership between China and Russia. Together, we are building not just a channel, but a learning community that is active and engaged.
Section 2. Historical background of China-Russia relations. Adam.
To understand why China and Russia are working so closely today, we first need to look back at history. Relationships between countries are never built in just one day. They are shaped by many years of friendship, conflict, agreements, and disagreements. The story of China and Russia is long and complex, and it teaches us how nations can change from rivals to partners over time.
Julia.
That's right, Adam. If we go back hundreds of years, Russia and China were neighbors who sometimes fought and sometimes traded. Their shared border is one of the longest in the world, stretching thousands of kilometers. Borders can bring both connection and tension. For a long time, both countries were careful about how they interacted with each other, because each wanted to protect its land and culture.
Adam.
In the 20th century, the relationship became even more interesting. After World War II, both China and Russia, or more precisely the Soviet Union at that time, were seen as rising powers. They both followed communist ideologies, which gave them common ground. During the early Cold War, China and the Soviet Union worked together closely. They saw themselves as partners standing against the influence of the United States and its allies.
Julia.
But the friendship did not last forever. In the 1960s, the partnership broke apart. China and the Soviet Union had big disagreements about how communism should be practiced and how global politics should be managed. These disagreements were so serious that they even led to small border conflicts. At that time, instead of being close friends, China and the Soviet Union became more like rivals, each trying to follow its own path.
Adam, for English learners, an important word here is rival. A rival is someone you compete against. In sports, it might be another team. In politics, it can be another country. For many years, China and the Soviet Union were rivals, even though they shared similar systems. This shows us that even countries with common ideas can still compete for influence and power.
Julia.
After the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, the story changed again. Russia became a new state, and China was growing rapidly. Both countries faced new challenges. Russia was dealing with political and economic changes, while China was opening up to the global economy and developing quickly. During this time, the two countries started to rebuild their relationship. They realized that cooperation would benefit both sides more than rivalry.
Adam.
In the 1990s, leaders from both nations worked on agreements to reduce tensions, especially along their long-shared border. They signed treaties to make sure there would be peace and no more disputes over territory. This was a big step, because it showed that they were ready to leave past conflicts behind and look forward to a more positive relationship.
Julia.
A key moment came in 2001 with the signing of the Treaty of Good Neighborliness and Friendly Cooperation. This treaty made it clear that China and Russia wanted a stable, long-term partnership. It included agreements on politics, economics, and security. For both countries, this was an important turning point because it gave them a formal structure to work together.
Adam.
Yes, and since then, the relationship has continued to grow stronger. Both China and Russia found that by working together, they could balance the influence of other powerful countries. For example, when they cooperate in the United Nations, their voices carry more weight. This allows them to influence global decisions in a way that reflects their own interests.
Julia.
It's interesting to see how history shapes the present. At one time, China and Russia were allies. Then they became rivals. Later, they returned to cooperation. This is a lesson in international relations. Partnerships can change depending on the needs of the time. Nothing is permanent, and countries adapt to new situations. For English learners, this is also a good chance to learn words like ally, rival, and cooperation.
Adam.
To give you some simple definitions, an ally is a friend or partner, especially in politics or war. A rival is a competitor or someone you are against. Cooperation means working together for a common goal. These words are very useful not only for studying international politics, but also for daily life. For example, in school, classmates can be allies when working on a group project, or rivals when competing in sports.
Julia. Exactly, Adam. By learning the history of China and Russia, we also learn how flexible relationships can be. Leaders sometimes choose friendship, sometimes competition, depending on what they think will bring the most benefit. Today, the partnership is growing again because both countries see value in supporting each other. Understanding this history helps us make sense of the present and prepares us to better understand what might happen in the future. Adam. So the key idea is this. History matters. The China-Russia partnership is not something new. It has roots that go back many decades, even centuries. It has gone through ups and downs, but today it is moving in the direction of closer cooperation. And as we continue through this podcast, we will see how this history influences their political, economic, and military ties today. Julia. Yes, and as always, we encourage our listeners to reflect. What do you find most interesting about this history? Did you know that China and Russia were once rivals as well as allies? Think about how history in your own country has shaped your present. This kind of reflection is not only good for language practice, but also for developing a deeper understanding of the world.
Now that we have explored the history of China and Russia, it is time to look at their shared political interests. Politics is about power, decisions, and influence. Every country wants to protect its own values and goals, but sometimes two nations discover that they can achieve more if they work together. This is exactly what is happening with China and Russia today. Their political interests are closely linked, and this shapes their partnership.
One of the main reasons they cooperate is that both countries want to play a stronger role in global politics. For many years, the United States and Western countries have been very powerful in international organizations. China and Russia often feel that their voices are not heard enough. By forming a partnership, they believe they can balance that influence and make the world more open to their perspectives.
For English learners, the word balance is very important here. To balance something means to make it equal or fair. In world politics, balance means that power is shared between different countries so that no one side becomes too dominant. China and Russia both want to balance Western power, so they use their partnership as a way to make sure their own views are respected.
Another shared interest is in promoting sovereignty. The word sovereignty means that each country has full control over its own land and decisions, without interference from others. Both China and Russia place a strong value on sovereignty. They believe that no outside power should tell them how to govern, and they also defend this principle for other countries. This belief is one of the foundations of their partnership.
That's a good point, Julia. In simple terms, they want the freedom to make their own decisions. This is especially important when it comes to political systems. China has its own model of government, and Russia has its own as well. Both countries are not interested in copying the Western model of democracy. Instead, they prefer to follow their own traditions and systems, and they support each other's choices on the global stage.
Yes, and this connects to another shared interest: resisting outside pressure. Sometimes international organizations or powerful nations try to pressure countries into changing their policies. China and Russia often face this kind of pressure. By standing together, they make it more difficult for others to influence them. Their partnership is like a shield that gives them greater protection against outside criticism.
Let's use a simple image to explain this. Imagine two students in a school who often get criticized by others. If they are alone, it is easy for people to pressure them. But if the two students stand side by side, it becomes much harder for others to push them around. This is how China and Russia see their partnership. By standing together, they defend their political space and reduce the power of outside pressure.
Another key political interest is their role in international organizations. Both China and Russia are permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. This gives them a very strong voice in global decisions. When they work together, they can influence outcomes on issues like war, peace, and international security. Their combined votes and positions give them real power in shaping the direction of world politics.
And it's not just the United Nations. Both countries are active in other organizations too. For example, they cooperate in groups like BRICS, which includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. In these groups, they promote economic cooperation and political dialogue that is not dominated by Western countries. Their shared goal is to create a more multipolar world.
For learners, multipolar is another useful word. It means that power is spread across many countries, not just one or two. A multipolar world is one where several strong nations exist, each playing a role in shaping global decisions. China and Russia both support this idea because it gives them more opportunities to show leadership and to reduce the dominance of a single superpower.
That's right. They also share political interests in promoting alternative voices in global debates. For example, they often argue that developing countries should have more influence. They believe that nations in Asia, Africa, and Latin America should be represented more fairly in international organizations. This vision is part of their political partnership, and it appeals to many countries around the world.
Another important shared interest is stability in their own regions. Russia is deeply involved in European and Central Asian politics, while China focuses on Asia and the Pacific. Both countries want to make sure that their regions are safe, stable, and free from outside interference. By coordinating their political actions, they can support each other's goals in these areas and present a united front.
So if we put all of this together, we see that China and Russia are united by several key political interests: balancing Western power, defending sovereignty, resisting outside pressure, shaping international organizations, and promoting multipolarity. These shared goals make their partnership very strong because they are not only working for today's benefits, but also for long-term political visions.
Exactly, Adam. And this is why their political relationship is so important to understand. When two powerful countries discover that they have similar interests, they are more likely to cooperate. For English learners, it is also valuable to notice how simple words like balance, sovereignty, shield, and multipolar can explain very complex ideas in global politics. These words are keys that open the door to deeper understanding.
As you listen, we encourage you to remember that political partnerships are always about more than just friendship. They are about strategy, goals, and shared visions of the future. China and Russia are not simply close because they like each other. They are close because their political interests match, and they believe that together they can shape the world in ways that protect their values.
And with that understanding, dear listeners, we can move forward to explore the next aspect of their relationship: economics. Politics and economics are always linked, and the story of China and Russia shows us that clearly. But before we move ahead, let's pause and reflect. Which of the political interests we discussed do you think is most important? Balance, sovereignty, resisting pressure, or multipolarity? Think about it, and practice saying these words out loud.
Now that we have explored the political connections between China and Russia, it is time to look at their economic cooperation. Economics is all about money, trade, and business, and it plays a very important role in shaping their partnership. Both countries are large, and both have growing economies. By working together economically, they can create opportunities that benefit their citizens and strengthen their influence worldwide.
Yes, Adam. One of the most visible forms of economic cooperation between China and Russia is trade. Trade means buying and selling goods and services. China is one of the largest buyers of Russian energy, including oil and natural gas. Russia, in return, benefits from China's huge market for goods, investments, and infrastructure projects. This trade relationship is mutually beneficial, allowing both countries to grow economically.
For English learners, the word mutually is important. Mutually means that both sides benefit or agree. In this case, China and Russia gain benefits from each other. Trade, investment, and joint projects are examples of mutually beneficial cooperation. Understanding words like this helps learners talk about relationships, partnerships, and teamwork, whether in politics, business, or daily life.
Another key area of cooperation is energy. Russia is rich in natural resources like oil, gas, and coal. China, on the other hand, has a huge demand for energy because of its rapidly growing economy. To meet this demand, the two countries have signed long-term agreements. They have built pipelines that transport gas and oil directly from Russia to China. These projects create economic stability for both countries.
Energy cooperation is more than just selling resources. It also means security. When both countries have reliable energy agreements, they can depend on each other. For China, this ensures a steady supply of energy for its factories and cities. For Russia, it guarantees a stable buyer for its resources. In international economics, this kind of reliable partnership is extremely valuable and strengthens trust between nations.
Apart from energy, China and Russia also cooperate in infrastructure. For example, China invests in railways, ports, and technology projects in Russia. Similarly, Russia supports joint initiatives in scientific research, industrial development, and transportation networks. This cooperation not only improves their own economies, but also creates jobs, increases trade, and fosters innovation.
And for learners, some useful words here are infrastructure, investment, and innovation. Infrastructure means basic systems like roads, railways, and energy networks that help a country function. Investment means putting money into a project expecting future returns. Innovation is about creating new ideas, products, or technologies. These words appear in daily business news and can help you understand global developments.
Another important aspect of economic cooperation is technology sharing. China and Russia work together on projects related to high-speed trains, artificial intelligence, and industrial machinery. These collaborations allow both countries to develop skills and technologies faster than if they worked alone. For English learners, technology-related vocabulary is valuable because it is commonly used in news, education, and business discussions.
Economic cooperation also helps both countries face international sanctions. Sometimes other nations impose restrictions on trade, banking, or investments. By relying on each other, China and Russia can reduce the impact of these sanctions. Their partnership becomes not only economically beneficial, but also strategically important, showing how trade and politics are often connected.
Let's not forget the financial sector. Banks in both countries have signed agreements to support trade in local currencies. This reduces dependence on global currencies like the US dollar. Using local currencies helps stabilize transactions and strengthens economic ties. It also reflects their shared goal of creating more independence in global finance, making their partnership more resilient.
Another interesting point is regional cooperation. Both countries are part of organizations like the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which promotes economic projects, trade routes, and business collaboration across Asia. These efforts strengthen not only bilateral ties, but also wider regional economic stability, connecting multiple nations in trade and investment networks.
For English learners, it is also useful to notice how these words connect: trade, energy, investment, infrastructure, innovation, sanctions, currency, and stability. By understanding these terms, you can read the news about global economics more easily and discuss important topics with confidence. Economics might sound complicated, but simple vocabulary and clear explanations make it approachable.
To summarize, the economic cooperation between China and Russia is multifaceted. It includes trade, energy, infrastructure, technology, finance, and regional projects. This partnership benefits both nations and strengthens their positions globally. It also illustrates how political alliances and economic strategies often work hand in hand, creating a strong and lasting relationship.
And as always, we encourage our listeners to reflect on what they hear. Think about how economic cooperation between two countries can affect the world. Which sectors do you find most interesting? Energy, infrastructure, or technology? Try using these words in sentences or discussions with friends. Practicing vocabulary in context is one of the best ways to improve your English while learning about international affairs.
Indeed, Julia. Understanding the economic ties between China and Russia gives us insight into global power structures, trade networks, and regional stability. It also highlights the practical benefits of partnerships, showing how countries work together to meet shared needs and solve challenges. Economic cooperation is a powerful tool for building trust and sustaining relationships over time.
With this understanding, dear listeners, we are ready to move on to another important part of the China-Russia partnership: military and security ties. As we explore these connections, you will see that economics, politics, and defense are all linked, shaping a complex and strategic relationship that affects the whole world.
Now that we have explored economic cooperation, it is time to look at military and security ties between China and Russia. Security is about keeping a country safe from threats, both internal and external. Military cooperation is one of the ways countries ensure stability and protect their interests. For China and Russia, these ties are an important part of their strategic partnership.
That's right, Adam. Over the years, China and Russia have conducted joint military exercises. These exercises include activities like training troops, testing equipment, and practicing strategies together. By participating in these exercises, both countries learn from each other and increase their preparedness. It also sends a signal to other nations that they are capable of working together effectively.
For English learners, the word exercise in this context does not mean physical fitness. Here, it means a planned military activity for training purposes. Joint exercises are common among countries that cooperate on security. They help soldiers, officers, and commanders understand each other's methods and build trust between the armed forces of different nations.
Another important aspect is defense technology. China and Russia share knowledge and innovations in military technology, including aircraft, missiles, and naval equipment. This collaboration allows both countries to improve their defense capabilities. For learners, words like defense, technology, and capabilities are very useful in discussing global security topics in English.
Yes, Julia. Beyond technology, both nations also coordinate on strategic defense planning. This means they discuss potential threats, share intelligence, and develop strategies for regional and global security. By planning together, they reduce the risk of conflict between themselves and strengthen their ability to respond to other security challenges.
One example of their cooperation is in the naval domain. China and Russia have conducted joint naval exercises in seas near their regions. These exercises improve coordination, build trust, and help both countries ensure the security of important trade routes and maritime borders. For English learners, naval refers to anything related to the Navy or ships used for defense purposes.
Another word to know is intelligence. In security terms, intelligence means information about potential threats, including military movements, political changes, or terrorist activities. By sharing intelligence, China and Russia can make informed decisions and respond more quickly to global or regional risks. Cooperation in intelligence is a key feature of their partnership.
Security cooperation is not only about defense, but also about deterrence. The word deterrence means preventing something from happening by showing strength. By working together militarily, China and Russia create a situation where other countries may think twice before taking aggressive actions. This strengthens their political and strategic positions internationally.
Another interesting aspect is air defense. Both countries have systems that can detect and intercept potential threats from the sky. By sharing expertise and conducting joint drills, they enhance their capabilities to protect their territories. For learners, intercept means to stop or catch something before it reaches its destination, and it is used in both everyday and military English.
In addition, cybersecurity is becoming a growing area of cooperation. Both nations face threats from cyber attacks that could target government, military, or economic systems. By sharing knowledge and coordinating defenses, they protect critical infrastructure. Vocabulary, like cybersecurity, threats, and infrastructure, is important for English learners interested in modern global issues.
Beyond technology and exercises, military cooperation also strengthens trust between the two countries. Trust is essential when decisions about security and defense must be made quickly. By working together, China and Russia develop confidence in each other's reliability, which is a cornerstone of any strong partnership.
Another aspect is regional security. China focuses on Asia and the Pacific, while Russia is active in Europe and Central Asia. By cooperating, they ensure stability in their neighboring regions. This allows both countries to protect their borders, trade routes, and interests more effectively. Stability is a useful word for learners, meaning safety and order over time.
Let's also remember that military ties are closely linked to political and economic cooperation. Strong defense capabilities provide security for investments, trade routes, and regional projects. When military cooperation is effective, it strengthens trust in political agreements and economic partnerships. This interconnectedness shows how deeply China and Russia coordinate across multiple areas.
For English learners, understanding these concepts is very useful. Words like cooperation, Trust, security, deterrence, and stability appear in news about international relations. By learning them in context, you can discuss global issues more confidently, whether in writing, speaking, or reading English news articles.
So, in summary, military and security ties between China and Russia include joint exercises, technology sharing, intelligence cooperation, regional defense, naval operations, air defense, and cybersecurity. These activities help both countries feel secure and enhance their global influence. It also strengthens the foundation of their growing strategic partnership.
And as we reflect, it is clear that military cooperation is not about conflict. It is about preparation, trust, and protection. It is about ensuring that both countries can defend themselves while working together to maintain stability in their regions. Understanding these relationships helps learners see how defense, politics, and economics are all connected.
With this understanding, dear listeners, we are ready to explore the next important area of cooperation: technology and innovation. Technology is a modern tool that influences every part of life, from defense to trade to scientific discovery, and it shows how China and Russia continue to build a strong, forward-looking partnership. Now that we have explored military and security ties, let's move to another important aspect of the China-Russia partnership: technology and innovation. Technology refers to tools, systems, and methods that help people and countries solve problems. Innovation means creating something new or improving existing systems. For these two countries, sharing technology is a key way to strengthen their strategic partnership.
That's right, Adam. One of the main areas of cooperation is space technology. Both China and Russia have strong space programs. They share knowledge about satellites, spacecraft, and space exploration missions. This collaboration allows them to develop advanced capabilities faster than if they worked separately. For English learners, satellite means a device that orbits the Earth to provide communication, navigation, or scientific data.
Another important field is artificial intelligence, or AI. China and Russia are both investing heavily in AI for industry, military, and research. By sharing expertise, algorithms, and software, they can improve AI systems that analyze data, automate processes, and support decision-making. AI is a modern tool that is shaping global competition in technology, business, and security.
Infrastructure projects are also part of their technological cooperation. For example, both countries invest in high-speed rail systems, energy grids, and communication networks. These projects require advanced engineering and planning. By collaborating, China and Russia can build better infrastructure that supports economic growth, regional connectivity, and international trade. Infrastructure is a key word for learners, meaning the basic systems that allow countries to function efficiently.
Beyond space, AI, and infrastructure, both countries also share knowledge in cybersecurity. Cybersecurity involves protecting computers, networks, and digital systems from attacks. Russia and China work together to defend against cyber threats and to develop stronger, safer digital systems. For English learners, cybersecurity and threat are important words that appear in news about global safety and technology.
Technology and innovation cooperation also affects global competition. By working together, China and Russia can challenge other leading nations in science, industry, and defense. For example, innovations in AI, aerospace, and telecommunications give both countries advantages in research, military technology, and international trade. This cooperation strengthens their global positions and influence.
Another interesting area is joint scientific research. Scientists from both countries collaborate on experiments, space missions, and industrial projects. This kind of cooperation allows them to share knowledge, solve complex problems, and train the next generation of experts. For learners, words like collaborate, research, and experiment are useful when discussing science and technology topics.
Technology sharing also has economic benefits. By working together, China and Russia reduce costs, improve efficiency, and create new business opportunities. Joint projects often attract investment, generate jobs, and develop industries in both countries. For English learners, understanding terms like efficiency, investment, and industry helps in reading and discussing international economic news.
It's important to notice that these technology partnerships are not limited to one sector. They include transportation, energy, AI, space, cybersecurity, and infrastructure. By coordinating their research and innovation efforts, China and Russia gain advantages in areas that are critical for national development, international influence, and global competitiveness.
For English learners, it is also valuable to see how these words connect: innovation, technology, AI, infrastructure, research, collaboration, and cybersecurity. By practicing these words in context, you can discuss modern developments in science, business, and politics more confidently. Learning vocabulary in this way helps improve both comprehension and speaking skills.
Let's also look at the space cooperation in more detail. Russia has decades of experience in space exploration, while China has rapidly developed its own programs. By sharing satellites, rockets, and training programs, both countries expand their capabilities. They can conduct joint missions, track satellites, and even share knowledge about lunar and planetary exploration, which strengthens their position in global space competition.
In AI, both nations are exploring ways to use artificial intelligence for predictive analysis, automated decision-making, and industrial automation. This allows them to compete with other technology leaders like the United States and European countries. Sharing expertise ensures faster progress, reduces costs, and creates a knowledge network that benefits both partners.
Infrastructure projects, including energy grids, high-speed rail, and telecommunications networks, are also crucial. They improve domestic efficiency and international trade. For example, better transportation systems allow goods to move faster between China, Russia, and neighboring countries. Telecommunications networks improve communication, data transfer, and research collaboration.
One interesting effect of technology sharing is its impact on global competition. By combining resources, expertise, and investments, China and Russia can challenge other powerful nations in multiple sectors. This competition is not about conflict, but about leadership in science, business, and strategic development. For English learners, the word competition is key. It means striving to be better or stronger than others in a certain area.
Another point is cybersecurity. Both countries face digital threats, from hackers to cyber espionage. By cooperating, they protect government networks, financial systems, and private industries. Words like digital, espionage, and systems are useful for learners because they are common in news about technology and international relations.
To summarize, technology and innovation cooperation between China and Russia includes space, AI, infrastructure, cybersecurity, and joint research. It strengthens their economies, defense capabilities, and global influence. For English learners, this section is a great opportunity to learn practical vocabulary and understand how innovation drives partnerships between powerful countries.
Understanding this aspect of their relationship shows that modern alliances are not only about politics or economics. Technology and innovation play a central role in building long-term partnerships. By learning these concepts and words, listeners can improve both English skills and global awareness at the same time.
As we move forward in this podcast, we will next explore the challenges and tensions that China and Russia face. No partnership is perfect, and understanding potential difficulties gives a complete picture of their strategic relationship. It also teaches English learners how to discuss complex international issues in a clear, confident way.
While China and Russia have a strong partnership, it is important to understand that no relationship is without challenges. Even close allies face disagreements and differences in priorities. For these two countries, challenges arise from regional interests, economic pressures, global politics, and differing national goals. Understanding these tensions helps us see the full picture of their strategic partnership.
That's right, Adam. One area of challenge is regional influence. China focuses on Asia and the Pacific, while Russia is active in Europe, Central Asia, and the Arctic region. These overlapping spheres of interest can sometimes create tension. Each country wants to protect its influence and resources, which requires careful negotiation and compromise to avoid conflicts.
Another challenge is economic competition. Even though they cooperate in many sectors, China and Russia are also competitors in areas like energy exports and technology development. For example, both countries want to sell energy to neighboring nations or invest in industrial projects. Balancing cooperation with competition requires careful planning and mutual understanding.
For English learners, the word compromise is important here. Compromise means finding a solution that both sides can accept, even if it is not perfect for either. Negotiation and compromise are essential in international relations. This helps countries maintain partnerships despite having different interests or goals.
Political differences can also create tension. While China and Russia share some common positions, they do not agree on every global issue. Each country has its own domestic priorities and foreign policy strategies. At times, they must navigate disagreements without damaging their broader relationship. This requires skillful diplomacy and ongoing communication.
Another challenge is international pressure. Both countries face criticism and sanctions from other powerful nations. These external pressures can test their partnership, as they must coordinate responses while protecting national interests. Words like sanction, diplomacy, and criticism are useful for English learners to understand international relations vocabulary.
Regional conflicts also pose potential challenges. For example, disputes in Central Asia, the South China Sea, or other neighboring areas can create tension between allies. Both countries need to ensure that their actions do not interfere with the other's regional plans. This requires trust, coordination, and careful planning.
Cultural and historical differences can also affect their relationship. China and Russia have distinct traditions, governance systems, and ways of conducting international affairs. Misunderstandings can occur if leaders or diplomats interpret actions differently. Recognizing these differences helps explain why partnerships must include communication and patience.
Another potential challenge is global competition. Other major powers, such as the United States and the European Union, influence both China and Russia. Their actions can create pressure, force strategic decisions, or even exploit differences between the two countries. This shows that partnerships are not isolated. They exist within a complex global environment.
For learners, words like pressure, coordination, strategic, and environment are valuable. They appear in both political and business contexts. Using them in sentences about international relations can improve vocabulary and comprehension. Understanding these terms helps learners talk confidently about global partnerships and challenges.
Despite these tensions, both countries work hard to maintain their partnership. They hold regular meetings, develop joint strategies, and focus on shared goals. By addressing challenges openly and finding compromises, they strengthen trust. This shows that even when disagreements exist, partnerships can survive if communication and cooperation are prioritized.
Another interesting point is that some challenges are managed indirectly through organizations and agreements. For example, both countries are part of regional groups like the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which helps coordinate security, trade, and political discussions. Such frameworks reduce friction and provide platforms for dialogue.
The energy sector is another area where tensions may arise. Both countries export energy to neighboring regions and compete for markets. At the same time, they rely on each other for long-term contracts and infrastructure projects. Balancing mutual benefit with competition is a constant challenge, showing that economic cooperation and rivalry often coexist.
Cybersecurity and technology present similar issues. While China and Russia share knowledge, they must also protect sensitive information. Miscommunication or disagreements about technology sharing could create tensions. By establishing clear agreements and trust mechanisms, they mitigate risks and ensure that cooperation continues effectively.
In conclusion, challenges and tensions are a natural part of any international partnership. China and Russia face regional, economic, political, and technological difficulties. However, their shared goals, regular communication, and strategic coordination allow them to manage these challenges successfully. For English learners, understanding these concepts also builds critical thinking skills.
Reflecting on these challenges helps us see that partnerships are dynamic, not static. Allies can have disagreements, yet remain committed to working together. Learning words like tension, cooperation, compromise, and coordination allows learners to discuss complex issues clearly and confidently, both in English and in understanding global affairs.
With this understanding of challenges and tensions, dear listeners, we are now ready to explore the next important area: global influence and the role of China and Russia in shaping world affairs. This section will show how their partnership affects not only their own countries, but also the wider international community. Now that we have explored the challenges and tensions in the China-Russia partnership, it is important to look at how the rest of the world reacts. Every alliance in global politics attracts attention. Countries around the world observe China and Russia's actions carefully because this partnership influences trade, security, and diplomatic relations in many regions. Understanding global reactions helps us see the bigger picture of international relations.
That's right, Adam. One of the most closely watched reactions comes from the United States. The US often sees the China-Russia partnership as a strategic challenge. It worries that the alliance could shift global power balance, reduce Western influence, and create competition in areas like technology, trade, and military presence. American analysts study joint exercises, economic deals, and political coordination between China and Russia to anticipate future trends.
For English learners, words like strategic, influence, and anticipate are very useful. Strategic refers to carefully planned actions to achieve a goal. Influence means the power to affect or change decisions, behaviors, or outcomes. Anticipate means to expect or prepare for something. These terms are commonly used in news and discussions about international relations.
European countries also observe this partnership with caution. The European Union, for example, monitors Russia's energy exports and China's growing investments in infrastructure. Both the US and Europe worry that increased cooperation could create an alternative global power center that challenges Western dominance. European nations adjust their diplomatic and economic policies to respond to this evolving dynamic.
In Asia, reactions are mixed. Some countries, such as India, Japan, and Southeast Asian nations, pay close attention to both the benefits and risks of this partnership. On one hand, they see opportunities for trade and investment. On the other, they are concerned about security and regional influence. Countries in Asia must balance relationships with China and Russia while also maintaining ties with the US and other global powers.
For learners, dominance, balance, and ties are useful words. Dominance means having the most power or control. Balance refers to fairness or stability in relationships. Ties are connections or relationships. Using these words, learners can discuss not only politics, but also everyday social or business relationships effectively.
Another global implication is the impact on international organizations. China and Russia often coordinate their positions in the United Nations. the World Trade Organization, and regional forums. This coordination allows them to influence decisions, negotiate favorable outcomes, and support each other's proposals. It also encourages other countries to consider alliances and partnerships carefully.
Shared actions by China and Russia also affect global trade. For example, energy deals, technology cooperation, and investment in infrastructure can shift trade routes, influence commodity prices, and create economic dependencies. These developments are carefully watched by analysts in Europe, North America, and Asia. Global markets respond quickly to changes in this partnership, showing the interconnected nature of international relations.
Words like coordinate, dependency, and interconnected are very useful for learners. Coordinate means to organize activities together effectively. Dependency refers to relying on someone or something for support. Interconnected means things are linked or related. These terms help learners describe complex global interactions clearly in English.
Another interesting reaction is in global security discussions. Many countries assess how China and Russia's military cooperation, technological innovation, and economic partnerships could influence regional and global conflicts. Allies of the US are often concerned about strategic moves in Asia and Europe. This shows that partnerships can create ripple effects far beyond the countries directly involved. In addition, some developing countries see the partnership as an opportunity. China and Russia offer trade, investment, and political support without demanding significant ideological alignment. For these nations, the partnership presents opportunities to Western-dominated structures. Words like developing, support, and alternatives are useful in understanding how countries interact in global politics.
International media also reacts to this partnership. Reports often highlight joint military exercises, energy deals, space cooperation, and technological initiatives. These stories influence public perception and diplomatic discussions worldwide. For learners, noticing terms like initiative, perception, and diplomatic can expand both vocabulary and comprehension of global events.
Another key vocabulary word is implication. It refers to the possible effects or results of an action. In this context, global implications mean the ways China and Russia's partnership affects countries, trade, security, and international decision-making. Understanding this word helps learners explain complex situations in simple English.
To summarize, the China-Russia partnership is closely watched globally. The US, Europe, and Asian countries all react, either with concern, caution, or strategic adjustment. The partnership affects trade, security, diplomacy, and the balance of power. By studying these reactions, learners understand how alliances influence global affairs and how to discuss them using correct vocabulary.
Reflecting on these global reactions teaches us that international partnerships are not isolated events. They have wide-ranging consequences for economics, politics, and security worldwide. English learners can practice using international relations vocabulary like strategic, dominance, balance, coordination, and implication to discuss global developments confidently.
With this understanding of global reactions and implications, dear listeners, we are ready to move to the next section, which explores lessons for English learners. This will connect what we have learned about China and Russia to practical vocabulary, comprehension, and discussion skills that you can use in real life. As we come to the conclusion of today's podcast, it is important to summarize the key points we have discussed. China and Russia have a growing strategic partnership that spans politics, economics, military cooperation, technology, and global influence. This partnership is complex, multifaceted, and has important implications for the world. Understanding these dimensions helps us see how countries interact and make decisions on a global scale.
That's right, Adam. We have seen that political cooperation forms the foundation of their relationship, providing trust and alignment on international issues. Economic ties strengthen this partnership through trade, energy agreements, infrastructure projects, and investment. Military and security cooperation ensures stability, preparedness, and trust between the two nations, which is essential for a strategic partnership of this scale.
Technology and innovation have also played a major role in strengthening ties. By collaborating in areas such as AI, space exploration, cybersecurity, and infrastructure development, both countries gain advantages and enhance their global competitiveness. Innovation allows nations to solve problems, develop new industries, and maintain influence in a rapidly changing world. For English learners, these topics are rich sources of vocabulary and practical expressions.
We also explored challenges and tensions. While China and Russia cooperate in many areas, they face disagreements over regional influence, economic competition, and global pressures. Understanding these challenges teaches us that partnerships are dynamic, requiring negotiation, compromise, and communication. This insight is useful not only for international relations, but also for everyday English conversations about cooperation and problem-solving.
Global reactions are another important aspect. The United States, European countries, and nations in Asia closely watch the partnership. Reactions vary from concern to strategic adjustment, highlighting the significance of China and Russia's alliance for global stability and the balance of power. English learners can practice words like balance, influence, coordination, and implication while reflecting on world affairs.
Lessons for English learners are a key takeaway from today's discussion. Expanding vocabulary, practicing listening, speaking, reading, and writing, understanding context, connecting words, and reflecting on topics are all important strategies. Using examples from the China-Russia partnership helps learners practice real-world English while gaining knowledge about global events.
For instance, words like strategic, cooperation, innovation, partnership, security, and balance appeared frequently. By practicing these words in sentences, writing summaries, or discussing topics with friends, learners improve comprehension, fluency, and confidence. This approach combines language learning with practical understanding of international relations.
Another useful strategy is summarizing information. When you read an article, listen to a podcast, or watch the news, try summarizing the main points in simple English. For example, China and Russia cooperate in trade, technology, and security. Their partnership affects global politics and economics. Summarizing helps learners organize thoughts, reinforce vocabulary, and communicate clearly.
Active listening and reflection are also essential. Pay attention to context, repeat important points, and ask questions if something is unclear. Reflecting on the lessons and vocabulary helps learners internalize knowledge and use it effectively in discussions, writing, or exams. These habits are valuable for long-term English learning.
Finally, we encourage learners to stay curious. International relations, global partnerships, and world affairs are fascinating topics. By learning English through such content, you not only improve language skills, but also gain insight into how countries interact, negotiate, and influence global decisions. Curiosity drives both language and knowledge growth.
In conclusion, the China-Russia partnership demonstrates the interconnected nature of politics, economics, military cooperation, technology, and global influence. It also provides rich material for English learners to expand vocabulary, practice comprehension, and discuss complex topics. By studying this partnership, listeners gain both language skills and a better understanding of international affairs.
Dear listeners, we hope that today's podcast has been informative and educational. Remember, learning English is a journey, and exploring global topics makes it both interesting and practical. Practice vocabulary, summarize key points, reflect on lessons, and apply what you learn in real life. Combining language learning with knowledge about the world strengthens both your skills and your understanding.
Thank you very much for joining us today. We hope you found this discussion on China and Russia's strategic partnership valuable for both English learning and global awareness. Continue practicing, stay curious, and keep improving. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the English Globe, and share your opinions about today's topic in the comments. Your feedback helps us create better educational content for everyone.
We look forward to exploring more global topics and English lessons with you in our next podcast. Until then, keep practicing, stay informed, and enjoy your journey of learning English while understanding international relations. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next episode.